All right, finally, we get to make our graffiti piece. So there's lots of different ways of doing this, and this is the way that I find is the most successful. Because again, our goal is to make your most original types of letters that you can. So I find that this works the best to kind of like keep your letters kind of all the same size and to make them into proper graffiti letters. Again, there's different ways of doing it, and you're going to find your own way. But the most important things to know, so there's a few tips, is that there isn't one right way to do graffiti. So anything you do, it's going to be awesome, okay? They can go from bubble letters to really abstract wild style to, kind of 80s kind of graffiti to block letters to anything that you want, anything that you like, okay? So it's going to take a little bit of work. So again, the respect comes from originality. So please trust me and please try it my way first. And if you hate it, then try something else. That's okay. You can look at other graffiti alphabets for inspiration, but don't copy anything. So you can, if you're stuck on how to do a letter S, you can go look online and look at other graffiti letter S's. Just get some ideas, but please do not copy them. I will be able to tell. Really, just trust yourself and do the best you can. Okay, it will all come together, I promise. Your letters can be abstract or as readable as possible. And everything that I'm showing you here, you're going to draw lightly and in pencil because you're going to erase and erase and erase. Okay, so this is just a lot of experimenting. And every time that you try this, your letter is going to come out differently. So this is a good way to keep trying different stuff until you get your own style. Okay, so you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need an eraser, big time, and you're going to need your black book. And of course, if you don't have your black book, any kind of paper is fine. So photocopy paper, line paper. I've even drawn on envelopes because that's all I had from mail. So anything that you have is great. Okay, so first thing you want to do is I would have your paper landscape and just lightly just draw your letters out. So we're going to do UASC for myself, for urban art, for social change, but of course you're going to do your tag name. So it doesn't have to be perfect, drawing it light. Okay, this is just your guide. Step 2 is you're going to draw boxes around all of your letters, so you're going to make them into block letters. And I prefer to do it this way as opposed to just drawing the block letters, because I find when you're drawing your block letters, you're too worried about how they're positioned and they don't come out perfect. So don't even stress about it. So draw lines all the way around your letters to make them block letters. And of course, you're just going to erase the inside of it. So already we're doing a lot of erasing. Okay, so we're still drawing lightly. So our fourth step is we're going to create planks out of your letters. And I just want you to think of these things as if they're, pieces of wood, and I put little dots on there so you think of them as pivots. So if I have a letter, I can move it around, and this gives me the ability to sort of keep the basis of what a letter is and all the parts to it, but just to move everything around, so it gives me the ability to sort of abstract it. Okay, so you don't have to put little dots. I just do them for habit and just sort of visual effect, but you're going to make them into different planks. Okay, so with those planks, you are going to move them and tilt them, and smush them and sway them, and you're going to fool around with them until you get some letters that you like. Okay, there's still lots of other steps to do after this, and don't worry about whether they're perfect or not. Now, right now, the letters look very angular and look very blocky, but after you've sort of abstract them a lot, you can go back and you can smooth them out. Cats are going nuts running around. Smooth them out, make them rounded, make some of them thicker, whatever you want to do. The idea of having the planks, though, it keeps sort of the essence of the letter and everything together. So, okay, my cats are being crazy. So I fiddled around with my planks a little bit, and so now I've erased the inside of my letters, and I sort of outlined the outside of my letters a bit more so it's more clear. So all of my extra lines are now erased, and I have something that I like. Now, this is still not done. There's still a bunch of more steps to sort of make this more graffiti-like and make my letters more unique. Okay, so this is what we're starting with. Now, in graffiti, for graffiti pieces, just like for blockbusters, just like for throw-ups, just like for tags, there's different add-ons and things that you can add to it just to give it a little bit more style. So in creating graffiti pieces, they have something called graffiti letter components, and there's a whole bunch of different things that you can add to your letters. These are sort of traditional things that you can do. Again, There's no rules. So graffiti writers such as Scam, very 80s sort of graffiti writers, they use a lot of these sorts of things. So you can use some of them, you can use none of them, but you don't have to use all of them. So I'm just going to show you sort of how I can incorporate some of them into my letters. So one of the things that we've looked at already are serifs, and they're like the boots and the hats, right, for that you put on letters just to kind of give them letters something. And we looked at those when we did our tags. So if you do it to one letter, you've got to do it to all. So what I did, I started off just adding some serifs to some of my letters, and it does two things. It makes the letters a little bit more fancy and more unique, so they have more character to them, but also it fills in some of those empty spaces that I had. So you can see between my U and my A, there's quite a bit of space, but just adding some serifs on the feet there, it just fills in a little bit of that space, okay? So you can add serifs. Another thing that you could do, and this is what I really recommend in graffiti, is overlapping. So an overlapping component is two things. You can overlap one letter over top of another, or a letter can overlap itself. So for example, my U, one side of the U is overlapping the other side of the U, but we want our design to sort of be unified. So that's why it's good that my S is overlapping the other letters. And so we want it to come together, okay? So we can add serifs, we can overlap some stuff. Another thing that we can do to make sure that our design is more unified is we can add connectors. So I can connect some of the letters together, or maybe there's natural ways that things can connect. So for example, the middle of my A, maybe I could have taken that middle of the A and connected it with the S. It's kind of confusing, wasn't a great spot there, so I didn't do it on that one, but some letters might work well with that. You know, like if I had a T beside it, maybe that middle of the A would have connected and become the top of the T. That would work really well. So it's up to what letters you have, and you got to play around with them. But connecting them is a huge way to sort of, again, unify them. Now, something else you can do are these things called bits. So what it is, you're sort of chopping off a part of a letter, and then you're breaking them into little bits at the end of the letter. So I did that at the top of my U. I added some stuff on my S just to kind of give it something kind of fancy. So again, draw and erase, draw and erase. Try some things, you know, see what kind of happens with this. And then when you're going to fiddle with it a little bit, and then you're going to erase all extra lines, and you're going to come up with something. Do it a few times, maybe you're going to come up with the first thing, but this is the first one that you've done, and you're just going to, honestly, it's going to look good, okay? So I have so far my piece, basic letters, okay? And so mine's a little bit readable still. It's not really abstract, kind of has a nice flow to it. It works okay. But what I want to add next now is the 3D, but you are pros at this, right? Because we did this with Blockbusters. So lots of ways. We could use the one-point perspective way, where we actually have a single vanishing point and all the corners add up with that. So again, totally can do that if you enjoy working that way. But when I find, though, working with something that is this complicated is just using that system that I showed you with Blockbusters, where you don't necessarily have a vanishing point, or in mine it would be like way over in the corner. But what I'm doing is just adding in every corner, just having on a line that goes the same length and the same angle for every single corner. This is where it gets complicated, because now that I've added in all those little bits, every single bit would also have a 3D component of it, right? So it takes a little bit of drawing and erasing and trying some stuff out. If you're stuck with this, what you can do is you can send me a picture of your piece without the 3D, and I love adding 3D. So I can add it on for you and give me a hand or give me suggestions or whatever you need. Okay, so you're going to try all these different things, add your 3D, and then you can take a picture of this and you can hand it in, just the pencil drawing. Okay, don't outline it, don't color it, nothing, and then I can give you feedback and I can help. And maybe sometimes there's spaces in between the letters that need to be filled, or you can add something else to it, or it's missing something, but those are some of the things that you want to try. Okay, so hand that in. And then next, what we're going to do is we're going to start thinking about color and the inside of the letters. All right?